Well, greetings and salutations, everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton. And man, oh man, it might not have been the prettiest game ever, but you know what? It's a Lions victory. Lions 6-2, going to go into the bye, and now we've got a lot of things to digest. Do the Lions make any kind of moves going into tomorrow's trade deadline? I mean, we'll see. Even heard Adam Scheffler kind of come on and talk about it, that he's heard some things. Obviously, he didn't want to divulge anything on air, but I'll say this: I get many of you may not even tune into this tonight just because hey, it is after 11 o'clock, and I get some people got to sleep, and I'm one of them. But let's analyze what the Lions did and what they Donkey Kong Super Bowl or bust, man. Let's talk about some of the things they did well. Obviously, we ran the ball. We talked about all week that you guys and I all thought that this was potentially a breakout opportunity for Jameson Williams and Gibbs, among other players. Gibbs, obviously, he showed a lot tonight, and the conversation about him is going to significantly change, I'm going to guess, because what he can do, speed and everything. I mean, yeah, he established himself as, worthy of that number 12 pick tonight. And let's be honest, he's had some other moments, but today was his breakout performance. All right, we got people jumping in here. Xander, odds of a trade tomorrow. I'm going to go with 60-40. I think it's probable, but it just comes down to what it's going to cost. I thought if you watched Adam Scheffler when they asked him that question, if he thought the Lions were going to do anything, I thought his body language was very telling. He's aware the Lions have made some calls on some players. You could see he was holding back because he knows when he's given certain information, he can't reveal it. And I thought, yeah, he's aware the Lions are trying to do something. So we'll talk about that in the morning. Don, you're 100% right. Good win, but very sloppy. Yeah, they left a lot of points off the board. I get the Goff pick six. That was inexcusable. But other than that, let's also consider how many backups you had on that offensive line. The Lions were trying to do some things, sometimes maybe even getting a little too cute at times. And I got to believe a lot of that was trying to protect that interior offensive line, which they knew early in the game, they needed some time to allow those guys to kind of ease their way into things. Pierce, what do you got? Considering how banged up we are, good win. Go get healthy and get me sweat tomorrow. Yeah, that would be one thing, and we'll talk about it in the morning as well. If you watch the sacks we get, and I'll refer to these as you guys, they are system sacks. So they are sacks that came out of the result of setting up specific movements in the play. Basically, X and O's led to those sacks. It wasn't players getting wins, and we'll talk about that in the morning. I won't go deep into it tonight because, again, it's 11:20, and yeah, a lot of us have to get some sleep here. Pound the drums one more time, Max for the ship. I mean, I'll say this, boy, the dude's impressive. I mean, he reminds me a lot. I won't put him in the Reggie White category, but I mean, he's up there with defensive linemen who just go all out, all plays. But I'm just gonna say he's that type of player that I'm not gonna say he's Reggie White or whoever else, but he stands out, and he stands out hard on film. Bergs gives it a beast. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be anybody questioning that pick. And let's also talk about, they talked about it a little bit in the broadcast, but the Lions draft picks, I mean, those first four, they're starting to look pretty good. I know Campbell had the one hit on the court on Garoppolo that got the penalty, but let's also be fair. He was falling down prior to getting to him, so that's why he kind of landed there. All right, what do we got? Jason, this one feels good after that Ravens game. Yeah, and it should. I mean, it was sloppy. They should have scored more points. I get it. But you put up 500 yards of offense, you're doing something right. The defense, the only real complaint I have is they did have a couple more breakdowns in the secondary that, man, if a quarterback hits it, this is a completely different game. Ellen, how do you feel about the fans being known as the Duke Crew? As your fans being known as the Duke Crew? I'm going to use that, man. But we're going to have to come up with something. We're going to have to do like I'm not trying to talk too loud because the GF is sleeping a couple of rooms over. But, yeah, I think we should come up with some shirts and do a tailgate and get a crew together at a game. I think that would be awesome. The Duke Crew. Pierce, Gibbs looked like, Kamara. Yeah, he just looked Javid Best in his, couple of good games. What's his name? Reggie Bush. I mean, you could throw some names around, but he looked dang good tonight. Duncan, kind of sloppy, but great teams have those games and win. Yeah. And give the Raiders some credit. Their defensive front came out and put a ton of pressure on Goff and the running game early. The problem for them is that eventually those runs just kind of wore them out. If the Raiders offense could ever have some legitimate drives other than I get they had the one in the second quarter, then that defense is a little bit fresher. But I will say this about Max Crosby. If somebody came up to me and said, hey, let's give up our first, second, and third for that dude, I'd probably be okay with it because, man, that defense would make a massive leap forward. Stephen Farmer, what do you got? Brad Holmes better be on that tablet wheeling and dealing. Yeah, I would agree with that, man. Brandon, I doubt we make any trades. Might not, but I would say, again, referring to just Adam Scheffler, he seemed like he had to hold something back. He was aware of something. Doesn't mean something will happen, but I'm going to stick to my 70-40 percentage. I think there's a better chance than not that we'll do something. But again, it's all going to come down to cost, right? All right, Drooks, what do you got? No Mountain Dew this late. Happy Dan for the win. Yeah. I got to get some sleep here. It's been a long day, man. But I'll get up at 5 o'clock and start getting things ready for the 7 o'clock show. All right, Lions Talk with the bad guy, John Kapler. Who's that blonde girl who picked up Gibbs with these? She can pick me up anytime. Well, I'll let you do some research on that one. And oh boy, all my stuff just moved there. Okay, Gibbs, what do you got? Don, what do you got? Gibbs about to go from being Coast or bust to Superman. Yeah, this was a statement for him. And man, everybody who was doubting him gonna have to change that narrative a little bit, don't you think? Doug, Oakland struggled. We don't get too excited. And I'll talk about this in the morning, Doug, but the Lions do need to make some adjustments. And while they've got a lot of good parts, they do need to figure a couple things out because they do have some weaknesses. I get injuries haven't helped us, but in a game of inches, we need to make sure that this team is getting better and better. So, David, we need to get Max. Yeah, we'll see if that can happen. I mean, dude's a monster out there, no question about it. Peter, what trade are you thinking? I still think the Washington trade seems like the most possible one. I mean, maybe there's something else out there, but also look at what Scheffler said. He was aware the Lions were calling about a cornerback, and he was aware of the Washington trade. So like we talked about earlier in the week, Sweat and Fuller seems to be that, perhaps he was aware of that too. Dominic, Lions time to shine. Yeah. Tim P, how much to get Max Crosby? Him and Hutch would be great. I agree. I mean, if you could pair those two up or just somebody else on the other side. And again, we'll talk about the morning. I thought, Aaron Glenn needs some credit for this because all the sacks that we got tonight were schematic sacks. They weren't people getting win rates. And we'll talk about that in the morning, but how much to get them? If I'm the Raiders, man, I'm probably trying to go for 2 first. I just don't think you'll get that. But first, second, and third, I'd probably pull the trigger. As long as the Raiders also gave us like a 6th and 7th, and maybe if they had a 2nd, 7th, something like that, because we want to keep the same amount of picks. Win is a win, baby. Yeah, don't ever overlook it, Keitho. Yeah, I agree with you. Steve, what do you got? Need a rest and reset. Yeah, the team's a little beat up, and yeah, they're a little worn down. The bye comes at a pretty good time for them. Now you got 2 weeks to get ready for the Chargers. Still thinking about Garnett. Yeah, Garrett. Yeah, I agree. You get him, that would be ideal too. But Cleveland, I get they're going to want to try to, in order to get Myles Garrett, they're going to need some real value there. And is it 2 first? I don't think you can get that from Detroit, but we'll see what shakes out. Duncan 6-2, yeah, and don't make light of that. You can say what you want about the team and who they beat or whatever, but being 6-2, as you guys are all aware, there ain't many teams in that air, and this is the first time. Well, I'll have to do some research in the morning. I can't remember the last time the Lions were 6-2. It's been a while. Case, what you got? Nice win. Don't care how it happened. Yeah, me either, man. Just get the win. Work on some of your faults. Get better at some things. Get healthier. Yeah, and go from there. Berg 6-2, first place in a bye. Good night, everyone. Yeah, good night, man. Get some rest. I got a couple more minutes and then I'm out. Ken, what do you got? Gibbs was a baller. Yeah, and he'll be the talk of the media all week long because, yeah, his performance tonight was something. Aiden needs help. Casey, I agree. A lot of their sacks come from they are in the lead. Yeah, I agree. And you could tell Raiders were no different than anybody else. They constantly were chipping Hutchinson, putting 2 guys on him. Anytime a guard got to backpedal and there was nobody from the pickup, he came over to Hutchinson. So you feel for the dude because he needs some help in order to really get his motor going and be able to put up some numbers and really become the wrecking ball I think we all agree he can be. Great Lakes, ugliest win I've ever seen. Boy, I don't know. That Giants were in Jets game yesterday might have been uglier, but it wasn't pretty, but it's a win. All right, Donkey Kong, I'm self-employed. I have tomorrow off. Yeah, you'll be able to sleep in, but don't forget, 7 a.m. Lions Talk Live. All right, Gary, good teams find ways to win. Yeah, and there's a ton of teams across the league right now that would be okay with winning any way, shape, or form. As long as you get that win, keep yourself relevant. Brandon Bowlesby, do not hold your breath on any trades before the deadline, guys. Yeah, it might not happen, but like I said, I'm going to put the probability at 60-40. We'll see what shakes out. New Gibbs would have a breakout game. Keitho, yeah, and he was special tonight. Don't anybody doubt that. All right, guys, I'm going to cut it off here, get to bed. If you haven't yet subscribed, you know what to do. Hit the thumbs up button. I'll have the show back up in the morning, 7 a.m. Hopefully you're all having a good one. Go celebrate. See you all bright and early. And, if you have any questions, go ahead and leave in the comments. I'll try to jump on it when I'm able to. So, sorry, just trying to read a few of these things. But, all right, I'm tired, and 5 o'clock gets here early. Might even have to get up at 4:30. We'll see. But I'll see you all in the morning and on the next Lions Talk Live. Go celebrate, everybody. Good night.